Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to be talking about how to use the wisdom of Ayurveda to experience better or more comfortable digestion. So that's what we'll be going through today. If you haven't taken the Agni quiz already, I recommend finding that on our website, cultivatebalance.com. Search under quizzes. It's called What's Up with My Digestion, which is a question we all probably ask ourselves a lot. So today we are going to do a quick review of Ayurveda and of the doshas. I like to start with that just as a refresher for all of us. And then we'll do a little meditation, visualization on listening to our bodies, which is an important part of understanding our imbalances in our digestive experience. We'll talk about the Ayurvedic perspective on digestion, and then we'll talk about how the different doshas experience digestion, and specifically digestive imbalances as they relate to the doshas or the mind-body types in Ayurveda. As we go through those three different types of imbalances, I'll also offer tips for soothing each type of imbalance. And then we'll get into some specific diet and lifestyle tips that can be used for everyone to support better digestion overall. And we'll end with herbs and remedies. Okay, so a little review. What is Ayurveda? You may already know this, but Ayurveda is a very, very ancient holistic science. It comes from India and dates back about 5,000 or 6,000 years. It's really about preventative wellness and using diet and lifestyle and herbs to feel better and live longer, to put it very simply. It's special because it's about using small shifts to make big lasting transitions. So it's really sustainable, it's gradual, and it's very effective from my experience and from the experience of my clients. And so that's sort of the overview of Ayurveda. When we, within the language of Ayurveda, we use the elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, or ether, to describe our experience. So we'll be using those elements to talk about digestion also. And we'll specifically be using the language of the doshas to categorize different types of digestive imbalance. So if you're newer to the doshas are basically groups or pairs of elements into three different categories that then we use to describe different mind-body types for individuals, but we can also use these dosha categories to sort of like divide up experiences and foods that we eat and all of that. It'll make more sense as we get into it. Let me tell you what they are. So there's three doshas. There's vata, pitta, and kapha. Vata is the air and space dosha. Those are the elements that make it up. Pitta is the fiery dosha with a little bit of water, but think of it like fire. And kapha is the earth and water dosha. And those definitions, those combinations of elements are all going to come into play when we start using this language of Ayurveda to talk about digestion. It's really going to give us the tools to describe certain digestive experiences in a way that's really accessible and relatable. So that's a little info on the doshas. And if you want to learn more about the doshas, about your mind-body type, more about sort of the foundations of Ayurveda, we do have a Foundations of Ayurveda webinar that you can find on our website. And that's a great way to get more comprehensive information on what I just shared so briefly. Okay, so go ahead and sit comfortably if you're not already. You're in your home, so you're probably pretty comfortable. And close your eyes. We're just going to do a quick little meditation, visualization to think about listening to our bodies, because this really is a key in understanding our experience of wellness, our experience of imbalance, and sort of getting to the root of what's actually happening. So sitting comfortably with your eyes closed, give yourself permission to be present in this moment. Noticing anything that you are experiencing within yourself. This is the first step in listening to your body. Now, as you listen, take note of the qualities or of the sensations that you experience in different parts of your body. You may start to notice if your body feels more like wind, like vata dosha, or fire, like pitta dosha, or like earth and water, like kapha dosha. So let's move into the belly, because we're thinking about digestion today. Do you feel a sense of lightness or heaviness in the belly? With your eyes closed, just notice. Does it feel active or stagnant? Does it feel more hot and sharp, cold and slow, or maybe dry and rough? When was the last time you were hungry? Are you hungry now? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel any pain or sensitivity in your stomach? When was the last time you had a bowel movement? Reflecting on all of these factors and more that we'll get into in a bit can help us better understand our tendencies toward different types of digestive imbalances. So it's really important to be thinking about these things as we're thinking about our own digestion. If you're experiencing more lightness or dryness or coldness related to digestion and elimination, that's vata dosha. You can keep the eyes closed or open them. If you're experiencing sensations that are more hot and sharp and quick related to digestion and elimination, that's pitta dosha. And if you are experiencing more feelings that are heavy, slow, sticky, maybe cloudy, that's kapha dosha in your digestive system. And we're going to get into what all of this means, but I really want you to start feeling into your own experience. And keep in mind that these sensations are subject to change. So what you might be feeling in your body and in your digestive system right now might not be the same as what you're feeling tomorrow. And that is why it's so important to continue to check back in with yourself, to continue to notice, because it can really be different from day to day. And as a result, your needs can be different from day to day. Remembering to listen to the body is an especially key practice when it comes to what, how, and when we eat. Okay? Let's talk about digestive fire. In Ayurveda, we refer to the digestive system, basically the process, as Agni. Agni, A-N-G-I, is actually the Vedic god of fire, and is really worshipped in Vedic culture and in Ayurveda, which puts a lot of importance on the digestive system, that it would be named after this god of fire that is so highly respected. And that's really telling of how important digestion is. Ayurveda has known for centuries what Western medicine is just beginning to articulate, that healthy digestion is the foundation for deep and satisfying wellness. if you have good digestion, you're going to have better skin, you're going to have better sleep, you're going to have better clarity of mind, better quality of life, a better mood. I mean, honing in on your digestion will really support all subsequent wellness. So if you're noticing that you have a particular imbalance, maybe you experience a lot of skin rashes, for example, one place to start is balancing your digestion, checking in with your digestion. So Agni is responsible for transforming, Agni, digestive fire, right, is responsible for transforming the food and beverages that we take into our body into the sustenance that supports our existence. So into energy, into bodily tissue, into our being. That's what digestive fire does. It transforms that. It's pretty incredible. And when Agni is burning steadily, when digestion is good, basically is what that means, your cells are nourished, you feel comfortable, you feel comfort in your stomach, in your digestive system, in your colon, all of that, and damaging toxins are prevented from building up in the body. A big key to toxicity is actually weak digestion, which we'll talk about today. And again, you can tune in to the the toxins webinar that Sierra is leading to learn more about that. When we keep Agni healthy, it actually helps prevent disease. From an Ayurvedic perspective, so much of disease stems from, first and foremost, a digestive imbalance, which is really tricky in the West because people experience, like what people experience as routine digestive discomforts, they don't realize are signs of early imbalance, and that if built up over time, these digestive discomforts, gas and bloating, acidity, reflux, it can lead to much deeper imbalances or the manifestation of a more intense disease. But because we're not accustomed to listening to our bodies in this way, and to what it actually feels like to experience comfortable, easy digestion, we don't know that we could be preventing disease in these very simple ways. So if you really are honest with yourself, how does your digestive system feel every day? Is it light and comfortable? Or do you notice pretty regular occurrences of gas and bloating, acidity, reflux, digestive pain, sensitivity? All of these things are in balance and don't actually have to be a part of your experience. I've had clients that say, you know, I'm just always bloated. I just sort of expect to be bloated. It's part of who I am. I'm used to it. And actually, I like to explain to them and to show them that that doesn't have to be a part of their experience, and that doesn't have to be a part of your experience either, but it is so common, especially in Western culture. Let's talk about digestion and the doshas. So we just mentioned the doshas. There's vata, pitta, and kapha. And I also already mentioned that the state of your digestion can really vary from day to day. And when it does, it can likely manifest as one of these 3 digestive imbalances that we use in Ayurveda. So the first one is called Munda Agni, and that means slow digestion or low appetite. And that's associated with kapha dosha. So people who have more kapha dosha in their constitution are more likely to experience an imbalance of Manda Agni, slow digestion. The second digestive imbalance in Ayurveda is called Visham Agni, and that means variable digestion, and it usually correlates with an unpredictable appetite. And that is associated with Vata dosha. So people who have more Vata dosha, air and space dosha, in their constitution are more likely to experience imbalances related to Visham Agni, variable digestion. And the third type of Agni imbalance is called Tikshna Agni, and that means sharp digestion. That's someone with a fierce appetite. And as you can probably imagine, this is associated with the fiery dosha, Pitta dosha. So people who have a lot of Pitta in their constitution are more likely to experience Tikshna Agni, or sharp digestion. And now we'll go into them one at a time. So variable digestion, Visham Agni, is when an increase, an imbalance in Vata dosha within a person leads to this Agni type called Visham Agni. And it's when the cold, light, rough, and mobile qualities of Vata, similar to the qualities that we would use to describe the wind, cause digestion and elimination to be erratic or irregular, which again, you can think of how something that is erratic or unpredictable would be related to the wind, would be related to Vata dosha. This type of digestive imbalance is most common after traveling or when you're really out of your routine. Signs of imbalance for Visham Agni would include having the experience where some days you can eat one food and you're totally fine, and then the next day your body can't tolerate it at all. That's a very Visham Agni experience. It's unpredictable, it's variable. As a result of this type of digestion, it's possible that you experience irregular bowel movements, digestive pain, gas, bloating, constipation, and like gurgling in your intestines, as well as anxiety, insecurity, and fear. Those can also correlate to this type of imbalance. And you can see how bloating and constipation, which are dry and cold and rough, are related to Vata dosha, which is like the wind, dry and cold and rough. Additionally, when Visham Agni increases, when we let it go on for a while, this type of imbalance, you might also notice an increase in dry skin, cracking joints, low back pain, muscle spasms, and difficulty sleeping. So this is what I'm talking about when I say we balance digestion and we feel much better in all other areas of our lives. Because an increase, an ongoing imbalance leads to other problems in the body, basically. Another indicator that you might be experiencing a Visham Agni imbalance would be really intense cravings for hot, heavy, even like fried foods, because the body is craving these things to try to counterbalance the cold, mobile qualities of Vata dosha, which is present in excess. So if you notice that you're having really intense cravings for hot, heavy, maybe even fried, oily foods, it's because your body is trying to ground Vata dosha. It's trying to balance the imbalance that is occurring. It's like giving you a message. So you can honor that craving within reason. Maybe don't go out and eat a fried food specifically, but note that that's your body craving more grounding foods, warm grounding foods, and eat like roasted vegetables with olive oil and spices, something like that, that will serve to ground and bring in those like hot, heavy qualities without putting you further out of balance. So what can you do if you're experiencing Visham Agni, variable digestion, which is related to Vata dosha? You can drink Cumin, coriander, and fennel tea. This is a classic Ayurveda remedy. It's used all the time, but it's one of the top remedies for supporting digestion. So to make Cumin, coriander, fennel tea, you would take like a half teaspoon fennel seeds, a half teaspoon coriander seeds, and a quarter teaspoon of cumin, and steep it in hot water and then strain it. You could also just make plain fennel tea, which is what I'm drinking right now, in a tea bag, or you could chew on roasted, like dry roasted fennel seeds after meals, Okay, so all those things will support you after meals with Visham Agni, CCFT, fennel tea, or fennel seeds roasted. Additionally, to support Visham Agni, eat in a peaceful environment. Sit down and relax to eat rather than multitasking. Right? Multitasking is that same vata wind type energy that's actually going to, especially when eating, it's going to increase vata qualities in the body and make it more likely that you feel bloated after a meal. So sit down, eat in peace, chew slowly, and slow down. Relaxed eating also signals to the body to prepare for relaxed, comfortable digestion. Makes a big difference. And lastly, to support Visham Agni imbalance, minimize your intake of raw food. Raw food can be very cold and rough and increase the qualities of vata that also increase the qualities or increase the experience of things like gas and bloating in the body, which are also dry and rough. Same qualities of raw food, like increases like. Okay, so let's talk about sharp digestion, the second Agni imbalance. It's called Tikshna Agni. And this is the imbalance associated with having excess pitta or excess fire in your body. So this is when the hot, sharp, and active qualities of fire increase and intensify digestion and metabolism. Because your hunger is burning through fuel so rapidly, you might actually desire to eat big quantities of food very frequently. That's a sign of a Tikshna Agni imbalance. And this type of imbalance is most common when a person is extremely physically active because it creates excess heat or fire in the body to be so active. You can tell that you have a Tikshna Agni imbalance if you're experiencing intense hunger or a fierce appetite, often accompanied with anger and irritability. You may feel like you always need to have a snack, that you have like a high metabolism, and that your blood sugar crashes. After consuming a meal, you might notice that you experience acidity, heartburn, burning in the intestines, dry throat or lips, headaches, hot flashes, or diarrhea. And you can see how these qualities are like fire, right? Hot and sharp, headaches are hot, hot flashes are sharp, acidity, heartburn, they're all hot like fire. This is a fiery type of digestive imbalance. As a result of this Tikshna Agni, you might also notice an increase in inflammation in the body, which is also a hot type of imbalance. You might notice more skin rashes, nausea, vomiting, anger, and envy. And if you let it go on even longer, it will result in malabsorption of nutrients and also ulcers. So again, we support our digestion to support our overall wellness because digestive imbalance over time leads to all sorts of other imbalances in the body. People who are having a Tikshna imbalance often experience intense cravings for sweet foods. These are people that like maybe have a sweet tooth. And this is ultimately because the sweet taste, the body experiences the sweet taste as cooling. So this is your body's wisdom trying to tell you that it's very hot inside and it needs something heavy and cooling. So you can honor this craving within reason to get yourself back on track by enjoying the sweet taste through fresh fruit, for example. So rather than eating candy, because your body is craving sweets, look for things that are naturally sweet. So what else can you do to support a Tikshna Agni imbalance? In between meals, I would recommend drinking licorice mint tea, coconut water, or snacking on fresh fruit. This will soothe Pitta dosha. You can also favor sweet foods, again, like fruit, or bitter foods like leafy greens, as well as dense foods like sweet potatoes, avocados, coconuts. All of these things will help soothe and cool and ground the fiery energy of Tikshna Agni. A good example of something that is sweet and dense would be like a chia seed pudding. I'll give you a recipe for that later. And the last thing that you can do to support a Tikshna Agni imbalance is to minimize the intake of spicy, salty, and fermented foods. All of these things create more of a fiery sensation in the body, which can actually aggravate Tikshna Agni, create more hunger, more heat, more intensity. So limit spicy, salty, and fermented foods if you're experiencing a Tikshna Agni, a fiery type of digestion imbalance. And lastly, let's talk about Manda Agni. Manda Agni is the experience of slow digestion, and it is related to Kapha dosha, the earth and water dosha. So this is when the qualities of slow, heavy, sticky, and cold, which are the qualities of earth and water, begin to dampen the light, sharp, hot qualities of Agni, of digestive fire. So dampened digestion is basically what's happening. And it can slow your metabolism and sort of create a dullness, a decrease in appetite, even nausea, as well as a feeling of heaviness in the belly. This Agni imbalance is most common after eating really late at night or like experiencing a sedentary day, not moving the body very much. So you can tell you're having a Manda Agni or slow digestive imbalance if you experience a lack of hunger and a particular distaste for breakfast. In Ayurveda, we say it's actually a good sign to wake up hungry for breakfast in the morning. People with Manda Agni usually aren't hungry until quite a bit later in the day. They feel full for long periods of time, almost as if food is just sitting in the stomach. They may experience like sleepiness or sluggishness after a meal. And again, nausea is common for them, especially after eating grains and dairy, which are very heavy and damp foods. Heavy and damp, they increase the heavy and damp feelings of Manda Agni, like increases like. A person with a Manda Agni imbalance or slow digestion may also notice lethargy, boredom, excessive sleep, like feeling very tired, cold, clammy skin, an overall feeling of weakness in the body, and emotions associated with Manda Agni that can arise are feelings of attachment, greed, and possessiveness. And if you let Manda Agni go on for a period of time, it can lead to toxic buildup, ama, in the body, as well as malabsorption of nutrients, allergies, swelling, weight gain, and even depression, all of which are wellness challenges that are associated with excess Kapha dosha. We take care of our digestion, we can prevent imbalances like this from arising. Person who has Manda Agni is likely to experience intense cravings for hot, sharp, dry, and spicy foods. And that's the body's desire to balance the heavy, slow, and cold qualities of Manda Agni due to excessive Kapha, earth and water, in the body. So again, just like with the other two, honor that craving within reason. So maybe eat like a light spicy soup or something that gives you that spicy taste without being so spicy and hot and sharp. But there is absolutely wisdom in our body's cravings. Our body naturally wants to return to balance, always, and it's giving us reminders, indicators, messages of how to do that all the time. And that is again why it's so important to practice listening to your body. Sometimes we get overwhelmed by all the stimulation, all the diet trends that tell us what we could be eating, what we should be eating. And if you really tune in and listen to your body, your cravings and your intuition will give you more information about what you need in that moment to prevent imbalance. So what do you do if you're experiencing Manda Agni or slow digestion? Before meals, drink ginger tea or make Agni kindler. That's like eating sliced up fresh ginger. I'll give you a recipe for that. But ginger before meals can enkindle digestive fire and support a slow or low appetite. Next, only eat when you're hungry. And I know that is a lot easier said than done. Eating can be so tied to our emotional experience. But if we put food on a weak digestive fire, our body just isn't going to process it, and it's going to lead to toxins and more imbalance. So check in with your body, and if you're not hungry, drink ginger tea, and then just wait until the next meal, until digestive fire is strong enough to break down food rather than turning it into toxins. And lastly, minimize your intake of dairy, gluten, sugar, processed foods, oily foods, and cold items for the same reason. They can be too heavy and dampening on an already weak fire. Okay, let's have a little review with some examples. So if you notice that you're feeling sluggish after eating, like heavy and tired after eating, which dosha would probably be involved with an experience that is heavy and slow? Kapha dosha. So this would be a Manda Agni type of imbalance, right? What foods or activities in excess may have led to this feeling of sluggishness, heaviness, slowness after eating? Maybe excessive amounts of dairy and wheat, maybe eating late at night. What foods or activities might be balancing for this Manda Agni experience of sluggishness after eating? Going for a walk, drinking ginger tea, skipping a meal, and waiting until hunger arises. All of those things will help. Second example, you're experiencing acid reflux. Which dosha is probably involved in the sort of hot sensation of acidity, of reflux? Pitta dosha, the fiery dosha, which means that this is related to Tikshna Agni, the sharp digestive imbalance. So what foods or activities might have led to this experience? Too much spicy, salty, or fermented food could easily lead to a Pitta type imbalance, especially in a Pitta type person. What response, foods or activities, might be balancing for this digestive discomfort? Drinking licorice mint tea, enjoying fresh fruit, especially in between meals. Both of those things will help soothe the hot components of acid reflux. Last example, you're experiencing bloating in your body. Bloating is cold and dry and rough. Which dosha would be involved in this type of digestive imbalance? Vata dosha, just like the wind. Vata dosha is responsible for Visham Agni, variable type digestion. So what foods or activities might have led to this experience of bloating? Eating in a really chaotic environment, eating while standing up, eating while driving, rushing while eating, not being present, not slowing down. All of those things can lead to that, as well as eating too much like raw food can lead to bloating. We'll talk a little more about that. So what response might be balancing for this digestive discomfort of bloating? Drinking Cumin, coriander, fennel tea, eating like a nice warm grounding soup, sitting down and being present and slowing down to eat your meal. All of those things will help with that sort of digestive discomfort. Okay, let's talk about some basic dietary support that will help all dosha types in preventing digestive imbalance. The first key in supporting your digestion from an Ayurvedic standpoint is to cook and spice your food. You heard me say for a Vata, a Visham, Agni type imbalance, that you really want to limit raw food to about 10%. Eating more cooked foods is going to help all dosha types experience less gas and less bloating. When we add the heat from fire, cooking our food, as well as the heat of digestive spices, it makes our food more digestible, so our body doesn't have to do as much churning to unlock the nutrients within. Our body's more able to fully break down our food, so it actually increases the bioavailability of our food if we cook it. Regardless of how nutrient dense it is, cooking makes it so our body can actually access those nutrients and it doesn't get as stirred up when trying really hard. And then you want to think about optimizing food combining. Maybe you've heard of Ayurvedic food combining, but it's pretty simple. It's less about what you're eating and more about how you're eating. A lot of times people are like, I can't figure it out. Is it this food or is it this food? It might not actually be about the food. It might be about the way that you're consuming the food or what combinations of food you're consuming together. This is a huge insight. It's made such a big difference for me, and it blows my clients' minds consistently. So first of all, you want to eat fruit. The first rule of food combining is to eat fruit, fresh fruit, separately from other foods. Eat fresh fruit by itself. Like I said, for Pitta, Tikshna Agni imbalances, you want to eat fresh fruit in between meals. That's a good rule of thumb for everyone when eating fresh fruit. The reason behind that is because fruit digests very quickly and other foods digest very slowly. And when you put them both in your body at the same time, your body doesn't know what to do about it. Should I digest the fruit and sort of ignore this other thing up here? Should I stop digesting the fruit and focus on this thing up here? Basically what happens in that is that one thing gets partially digested and not fully digested. And that those partially digested food particles become ama, or toxins in the body. So if you can eat fruit separately from other foods, don't put it in your yogurt, I'm so sorry to say, it will really support digestion. Another rule of food combining in Ayurveda is to combine only about 2 to 3 proteins in a meal. So I'm talking about nuts and seeds, I'm talking about cheese, I'm talking about meat. 2 to 3 proteins in a meal will be very digestible. If you eat more than that, it's often too heavy and dense for the body to break down. It dampens digestive fire and can lead to digestive imbalances, discomforts. And then, as I mentioned earlier, less raw food for all doshas, more cooked food. We don't need to go into that anymore. Let's talk a little bit about just some lifestyle guidelines for how we're eating our food. Again, Ayurveda is so much about how and when we eat, not just about what we eat. So you can optimize digestion, absorption, and assimilation by following these very simple digestive lifestyle guidelines. So the first one, which is, oh, you know what? I'm going to screen share with you. This will be helpful to see this. So hang on just 1 second. Oh, let's just close that. Okay. Great. Okay, guidelines for healthy digestion. Some of this will feel like a recap, but I gotta say it multiple times. It will help. It will help you remember. So 1, enjoy food at room temperature or above. This supports greater absorption and assimilation. Establish regular meal times. Routine helps the body understand when to digest. It sort of gives the bodily organs cues of when they should be doing their work. They can start producing digestive juices when they know that you feed it at the same time, or relatively the same time every day. It's also generally very grounding for vata and can prevent Visham type imbalances to establish regular meal times. Let lunch be your biggest meal. That's between 10 and 2, because when digestive fire is highest, or when the sun is highest in the sky, digestive fire is strongest. That's when you have your greatest capacity for absorption and assimilation, for turning food, nutrients into tissue and energy within your body. Eat until you're satiated, but not full. Ayurveda sort of subscribes to the idea that you want to leave room for the movement of digestion, for the churning that needs to happen to break down your food. If we fill ourselves to capacity, it's harder for our body to break down and to get the digestive juices into the nutrients of your food and really break them down. So leave space for digestion. Eat until you're satiated but not full. Next, allow 2 to 3 hours between all meals and snacks. Basically, this enables your body to fully digest one thing before asking it to digest another. Otherwise, what happens basically is if your body's like halfway digesting breakfast and then you eat a snack, even though you're not really hungry, like 30 minutes later, your body's going to have to decide which item it's going to pay more attention to in the digestive process. And as a result, one of those items isn't going to get fully broken down. Undigested food particles turn into toxins in the body. Give yourself time to digest in between meals and snacks. Next, sit down and relax to eat. You heard me mention this as a way to support Visham Agni, and this can support all doshas. We could all use a reminder to slow down. And it helps our body know where to put our energy, right? If you're eating and walking or eating and driving, your body, rather than sending more energy to your digestive system to process that food, it's sending more energy to your legs to move you from wherever you're going. So sit down and let digestion be the main thing that's happening as you consume a meal. Avoid hydrating during meals. So this doesn't mean that you can't like sip a little bit of water or some warm tea during a meal, but you really don't want to chug a glass of ice water during a meal, which I know is so crazy in the West, because everywhere that you go out to dinner, they give you ice water and you feel like you should drink it. Maybe you want to. But drinking a bunch of cold water can actually dilute digestive enzymes and slow the digestive process. So if you're going to hydrate during a meal, I recommend that it's warm, like a warm tea. When I go out to eat, I always ask for warm lemon water, and that is a great way to not dampen digestive enzymes. And lastly, take a walk after eating. This will support all doshas. The bipedal effect of taking steps actually activates digestion in a way that will help you maintain your energy throughout the day rather than like getting very tired after lunch, for example. And just a quick note on mindful eating before we get into herbs and remedies. This is really a key, and this is sort of elaborating on number 6, sit down and relax to eat. What if you ate as if it were a meditation? What if you paused and listened to your body like we practiced in the beginning of this webinar, and took time to notice your cravings and to notice your hunger? Slowing down, avoiding rushing around and multitasking is so important and so hard to do, especially in the world that we live in currently. But it's key. So really try to give yourself more space to eat mindfully. Do not work on your lunch break. Take your lunch break, go outside if you can, close your screens, don't look at Instagram, put your phone away. If you need some stimulation, maybe listen to music or an audiobook, but try to simplify. Mindful eating is so important, and it really enables us to tune in to our natural cravings, our natural sensation of hunger, to just notice how the body's feeling when we decrease excessive stimulation. And lastly, as a part of mindful eating, express gratitude. Whether or not you want to say a prayer before you eat, that's one thing, or just take a moment to feel love and appreciation for whatever you eat. Being in a good mood, being appreciative will actually also support digestion. There's absolutely a mind-gut connection. And like I said, whatever you eat, love it. Even if you're eating something that you know isn't the most nutrient dense, if you tell yourself like, this is poison, this is bad for my body, oh, I'm doing a thing that's bad, your body is not going to process it as well as if you tell yourself that you love it and that you appreciate it no matter what it is. Okay, that was my note on mindful eating. Now let's talk about herbs and remedies. Most of these I mentioned throughout, now I'll tell you how to make them. So a remedy for vata dosha, something to enjoy after meals to prevent visham imbalance like gas and bloating, would be to dry roast fennel seeds, like whole fennel seeds in a pan. Just dry roast them on like medium until you can smell an aroma. And then chew on those, and those will help prevent Visham Agni, variable digestion type imbalances. To support Pitta dosha and to prevent or to mediate Tikshna Agni, sharp imbalances, sharp digestive imbalance, enjoy chia seed pudding with coconut milk and cardamom between or during meals. If you know that you're really hungry, chia seed pudding with a meal will help soothe and ground your digestive system. Coconut milk and cardamom are cooling, and that is a big part of what we need to do when we're balancing fiery types of imbalance. We need to cool them down. And lastly, an herbal remedy to support kapha. You heard me reference Agni kindler earlier. Basically what you're gonna do is slice up some fresh ginger. You can slice it thin, you can slice it into strips, you can grate it, doesn't really matter. Put a squeeze of lime and a pinch of salt and let it sit for a couple minutes, and then you can just chew on that ginger before a meal, and that will help kindle digestive fire to give your body greater capacity to absorb and assimilate your food, especially if your digestive system has been slow and heavy and lethargic. Okay, so we've done it. Oh, just one more remedy that I want to talk about. You've probably heard me talk about this before. Triphala is an Ayurvedic herb that supports all doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha. It's actually technically a formulation. So it's not just one herb, it's 3 herbs, haritaki, amalaki, and bibitaki. And these actually come from 3 fruits. Each one corresponds with a different dosha. So Triphala is tridoshic. That means it supports all the doshas. You can take it in a small amount for, small amounts are binding, large amounts are laxative. That's something to think about depending on if you're experiencing pitta or vata imbalances. But it's ideal for gentle cleansing, for cleansing the colon, for nourishing and detoxifying the body. If I were going to recommend one herb for the next year of your life, I would recommend Triphala. It's so safe, it's so good, and it really helps support regular, easy, comfortable digestion without being aggravating to any of the doshas. I recommend taking it in powdered form because in Ayurveda it's very important to experience taste on the tongue rather than taking it in pill form. It's quite astringent, but it's worth it. It's very important. So now, before we come to a close, I invite you to just reflect a little bit on your own experience, on what you've learned today, on what you know about your own patterns of health challenges and digestive imbalances. And think about one thing that you want to implement tomorrow, whether that was a specific remedy for the type of imbalance that you're most likely to experience, whether that's a general guideline like eating more cooked food, or whether that's a specific recommendation for one of the Agni imbalances. Think of something that you want to try to implement tomorrow. And I also want you to think about what feels limiting, what feels inaccessible, what barriers are you noticing to maybe some of these new ideas that you want to implement, and take some time to reflect on solutions. Maybe the solution is that you need to allow more time in the morning to prepare your lunch for work so that you don't always take a raw salad. But it really helps if we can start to pinpoint what the limitations are to bringing in new habits and new ideas. Then we can apply solutions and overcome those limitations. So I invite you to reflect on that on your own. Might be a nice thing to journal about. I invite you to continue to listen to your body, to notice if you're really hungry, to notice your authentic cravings, to notice if you feel a more fiery or a more airy or a more earth and watery sensation in your digestive system, in your elimination, and in your whole body. That's how the doshas manifest, and that's really where imbalance starts. So if we can prevent or limit digestive imbalances, especially, we can prevent or limit lots of other future imbalances, like I mentioned earlier, skin imbalances, sleep challenges, mood challenges, mental, like focus, all of it can be supported if we are supporting our digestion and elimination. It's so, so key. And if you feel like you have toxic buildup in your body, ama, we call it, you might consider doing a Khichdi cleanse. We have one on our website. It's called Revitalized Khichdi Cleanse. You can also join us for the Spring Detox webinar to learn more about how to prevent and cleanse toxic buildup. And just one last note, Cultivate Balance, which is my company with Sierra, my co-founder, provides Ayurvedic consultations, wellness webinars, which you're here for, workshops, and we can do things in person, goodness guides, and online courses to really support you to nurture yourself so that you can nurture the world. That's our whole philosophy. Head over to our website, cultivatebalance.com, to explore all of our resources. We have a comprehensive online wellness program called The Art of Ayurveda. If you're curious about the foundations, about digestion, about daily routine and rituals, and really want to get into it, The Art of Ayurveda is going to be your jam. It's very in-depth, and it's very dynamic. You can also take quizzes like the Agni quiz, the mind-body quiz, if you want to know your dosha type. We have a blog full of recipes, remedies, self-care secrets, as well as other live virtual experiences, webinars, all sorts of things. We're always updating our information. So keep an eye out for all of that, and just remember that the more you take care of yourself, better you can take care of others in your life, the better you can show up to do your work in the world. And that is why we do that. Thank you all so, so much. Just